Operation Shadow: How a Fake Army Fooled Hitler. A story buried beneath classified files, hidden whispers of the greatest illusion in modern warfare. It began in silence, a cold wind sweeping across a dark English field. Rows of tanks stood beneath tarps, wooden shells painted green, their hollow bodies creaking in the night breeze. From above, they looked real. From the ground, they were nothing but ghosts. This was not an army of men. It was an army of shadows. And their mission: to deceive one of the most dangerous minds in history. Inside a small canvas tent, a British intelligence officer leaned over a trembling map. The air smelled of damp paper and tobacco. His fingers hovered over Normandy, then moved north to Calais. He muttered, "If they buy this lie, thousands will live." He pressed the radio switch. The hum of static filled the room. Outside, soldiers practiced radio chatter, repeating invented commands, drilling for a battle that would never exist. Their faces were calm, but their eyes betrayed them. They knew they were gambling with history. This was the birth of Operation Fortitude, a secret so vast that even many generals didn't know the truth. Every dawn began with routine: fake convoys moving across the countryside, trucks painted with mud to appear heavier, engineers hammering metal plates to imitate tank tracks. Every movement had to look authentic, because a single German reconnaissance photo could destroy the illusion in seconds. For the soldiers of deception, precision meant survival. By the summer of 1944, the Allies were ready to strike France. D-Day was approaching, but nobody knew where the blow would fall. Hitler expected the invasion to hit the narrowest point, the port of Calais. The Allies decided to make sure he stayed convinced. If they succeeded, he would hold his strongest forces there, while the real invasion landed in Normandy. If they failed, D-Day could turn into disaster. Meet the people behind the curtain: psychologists, illusionists, sound engineers, radio operators, a strange army of artists and mathematicians. One of them, Eleanor Reed, a young radio specialist with calm eyes and a sharp voice, was about to create an entire division out of thin air. Each morning she sat before her transmitter, headphones pressing against her hair, microphone trembling under her hand. She would whisper into static, "Delta unit, move to Sector 5, artillery standby." On the other end, nobody replied, because there was no Delta unit, only her and the hum of electricity. Across the channel in a smoky Berlin office, German analysts listened to her voice. Dozens of intercepted signals filled their notebooks. They heard tension, arguments, fatigue. They heard men complaining about rations. They heard orders shouted into the void. They didn't know. It was all a script. Every pause, every sigh, carefully crafted by Allied intelligence. To the Germans, it was life. To Eleanor, it was theater. While Eleanor filled the airwaves, crews worked in silence under tarpaulins. Wooden tanks were built overnight. Inflatable trucks took shape in the moonlight. From a distance, they looked perfect. Close up, they smelled of rubber and glue. Fake soldiers marched between fake vehicles, their boots tracing the same paths each day, so that aerial photos would show worn dirt trails. Even campfires were staged, oil drums burning under glass to mimic cooking smoke. From the sky, it was a full invasion force. On the ground, it was a movie set. One evening, Eleanor leaned toward her microphone, exhausted. Her hands trembled slightly. She'd been speaking for hours, creating voices, laughter, orders, all alone. Then, without warning, she improvised. "Sir, we're delayed with fuel. The supply lines are a mess." She didn't realize it then, But that single line convinced German command that the army was absolutely real. That night she sat in silence after transmission ended, listening to the echo of her own lie. Somewhere, she thought, someone just believed her fiction enough to move 1,000 men. By now the deception was breathing. The fake army had a name, a location, and a commander. General Patton himself, the most feared man in the Allied ranks. Hitler's spies confirmed it. Patton was indeed in England, visiting the 1st U.S. Army Group. The illusion had become a living organism, fed by fear, nourished by information, and protected by silence. And yet, behind every fake tank and every radio signal stood real people risking real lives. While Eleanor fought her invisible war on the airwaves, another shadow was moving in silence. A double agent known only as Cassius. He had no uniform, no rank, only a code name, and a life balanced on a knife's edge. Cassius sent reports to Berlin every week, reports filled with lies so precise they felt true. Each time he pressed send, he wondered if it would be his last, if his next breath would be followed by the sound of boots outside his door. But he kept writing, because if the Germans believed his stories, D-Day might just succeed. One cold evening, Cassius met his German handler in a smoky cafe near the Thames. Their voices were calm, their eyes sharp, every word carrying the weight of death. "The invasion will begin at Calais," he said quietly, "under General Patton. My sources are certain." His contact nodded, satisfied. A lie had just traveled straight into the heart of the Reich. In Berlin, the deception worked perfectly. Hitler was convinced that Calais, not Normandy, was the true invasion point. He ordered his strongest panzer divisions to remain there, waiting for an assault that would never come. Every hour those tanks stayed idle was an hour closer to Allied victory. But trust is fragile in the world of spies. Cassius began noticing faces. The same man at the corner, the same cough in the crowd. He wrote in his final report, "If I disappear, assume success." Those were his last recorded words before he vanished from British intelligence files. Some say he fled. Some say he was caught. No one ever knew. But his lie survived him. Then, disaster nearly struck. A German pilot flew over one of the dummy camps lower than expected. His camera captured something strange. Tanks with perfect shapes, but wrong shadows. Tracks that began and suddenly stopped. The illusion trembled. If the Germans realized the truth, the entire D-Day plan could collapse. In Berlin, the photographs spread across a table. Commanders whispered, could this all be fake? Some argued yes, but most refused to believe the unthinkable. How could anyone fake an entire army? Denial saved the Allies that day. But in the command tents of England, hearts stopped for hours. "Eleanor, if this crumbles now, we'll be sending real men into slaughter." "I know, sir, but the signals must keep flowing. They're listening, always listening." "Then make them believe louder." Her voice shook slightly as she returned to her mic. Not from fear, but from the unbearable weight of knowing that her words could save or doom tens of thousands. Through the night, she kept transmitting. She invented arguments between imaginary officers, broadcast false supply shortages, even simulated drunken laughter at camp. Each detail added color to the illusion. Each minute kept the enemy's eyes fixed on Calais. When her shift ended, she removed her headset, and for a moment, the silence felt deafening. And then, at last, June 6th, 1944. Dawn broke over the English Channel. Hundreds of ships moved toward Normandy. Engines roared beneath gray skies. The deception was complete. The stage had done its job, and the curtain rose on D-Day. Meanwhile, the defenses of Calais stood silent and ready for an enemy that never came. German officers stared at their maps, waiting for reports of landings. None arrived. Still, Hitler refused to move his forces. He was convinced the Normandy attack was just a distraction. The lie had taken root so deep, truth couldn't reach him. While gunfire tore through the beaches of Normandy, dozens of German divisions sat idle in Calais. Every tank, every plane, locked in place by a phantom. The ghosts of Operation Shadow had saved the living. Tom, you've seen the papers? I have. Strange, isn't it? Men are dying because of words we made up. They're living because of them, too. Outside, church bells rang. The invasion was real, but so was the deception that made it possible. Somewhere, Cassius's flat remained untouched. His files, his typewriter, a half-finished note. He never saw the beaches liberated, but his ghost lingered there, among the smoke and dust, whispering through time. A good lie, told for the right reason, can win a war. Years later, when the files were declassified, historians could hardly believe it. An entire phantom army, fake divisions, fake generals, fake life, all to hide one single truth, where the real invasion would begin. Operation Fortitude became a legend, a masterpiece of psychological warfare, and the people behind it? Most faded into history without medals or parades, but their silence spoke louder than any victory speech. Eleanor Reed died in silence, never revealing her part in the war. Major Hart retired quietly, his medals hidden in a drawer. Cassius gone without a trace, but their work echoes still. In every strategy meeting, in every deception operation since, their ghosts whisper from history, make them believe. Operation Shadow ended without fanfare. No flags, no cheering crowds. Just the quiet hum of the sea and the memory of those who tricked the enemy to save the world. This was their victory, a victory written not in blood, but in brilliance. Because sometimes to protect the truth, you must first master the art of the lie.